Good morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Romero. I am from Apex Evaluation. I represent the LGBTQ plus voices in evaluation TIG, and I was honored to be on the conference planning committee this year. And when it came time to choose who to introduce, I took the easy assignment. I took someone who needs no introduction. But I will say, when I first started coming to AA, I received some advice about choosing your sessions, and they said, stay with the big names, you know, the rock stars like Michael Quinn Patton. And I don't think he meant it quite as literally as what we're about to experience, but nonetheless, I'm honored and pleased to present to you and introduce Dr. Michael Quinn Patton.
I am your evaluation Jester host today. For some years, I have used the image of the Jester as the lineage from which some of us are descended as evaluators. You know that in medieval times, jesters had the role of trying to get the truth to monarchs when monarchs were out of touch with reality, didn't know what was going on in the kingdom, were surrounded by flatterers and connivers. Now, that would never be a problem with today's leaders, but apparently it was a problem in medieval times. And so the role of the jester emerged to figure out how to help the monarchs know what was actually going on. And when I do presentations and workshops, I like to begin wearing the jester mask. I get introduced and come in and will say to them, I'm your evaluator. One time I thought I'd been introduced. They were still doing the agenda for the day, and somebody turned around and saw me coming in the back, and he said, the evaluator's here. But what the mask allows me to do is to open up a conversation about how open are you to finding out what's really going on? How do we find out what's really going on? And the role of the jester provides an opportunity to open that up. The jester had to be able to communicate effectively with the monarch and learn how to communicate in a way that could be heard. So jesters use stories, drama, and song in order to, with humor, help the monarch hear what was really going on. And so I have used those things over the years, since evaluation is often hard for people to hear, and began incorporating stories and songs into my work. And this turned out to be a result of a quirk or an affliction that I have as an evaluation jester, perhaps some of you have it, is that every song I hear, every book, every story is an evaluation story. I see everything in terms of evaluation. I hear everything in terms of, let me show you what I mean. I use it with the cartoons in my books. It's a cartoon showing the evaluation jester bringing in the new and improved evaluation system for an obviously enthusiastic bureaucrat. Or in musical terms, learning to be able to connect with songs and stories. So here's an example. John Lennon, you all know Imagine.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
Here's what I hear. Imagine evaluation findings that actually get used. No excuses or resistance. No evidence refused. It's harder than you think. So I'm going to be inviting you all to sing along with me, come into my head, as, for example, in a different kind of song, Julie Andrews from Sound of Music. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, here's what I hear. Come into my head with me. Merit or worth or merit, that's always the evaluation question. Merit or worth or merit, who the hell can remember the difference? So part of the Jester role is to help in the transitions in the kingdom, to remember the history. And for a long time, I have used a version of the evaluation creation story to also bring people into evaluation issues and our culture. Every culture in the world has a creation story that explains how that group of people were very special, came to be who they are. The values that they represent are in those creation stories. I've collected creation stories as I've had the honor of traveling around the world. And so the evaluation creation story that I use when I'm beginning to work with people to bring them into some of our issues goes like this. In the beginning, that's how you know it's a creation story. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. And God saw everything that was made. Behold, God said, it is very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. And on the seventh day, God rested from all work. God's archangel came then asking, God, how do you know that what you created is very good? What are your criteria? On what data do you base that judgment? Just what results were you hoping to achieve? And aren't you a little close to the situation to make a fair and unbiased judgment? God thought about these questions all that day, and God's rest was greatly disturbed. On the eighth day, God said, Lucifer, go to hell. Thus was evaluation born in a blaze of glory, so to speak. And there are still folks who associate us with the dark side. But that story I share with people. Evaluations become multidimensional, complex, many models, many methods. But its essence is always that question, how do you know you're doing good? And that requires criteria and data and judgment. So we're going to go through some of these songs and stories that I've used over the years in my evaluation jester role to try to help the people I work with find evaluation more accessible. Why 50 years? Well, it was in 1973 that Robert McNamara, as the head of the World Bank, created the World Bank's first evaluation unit, the Operations Evaluation Department. And it was also in 1973 that the requirement written into the Great Society War on Poverty legislation from Lyndon Johnson in the 1960s finally managed to get some training for evaluators to do the requirements in that legislation that there be evaluation. There weren't evaluators at that point. And so the National Institutes of Mental Health were tasked with creating training programs. And in 1973, those programs began. Northwestern, Johns Hopkins, Columbia, University of Minnesota, and the UCLA Center for the Study of Evaluation. I had just finished my doctorate, had done a dissertation that turned out to be about evaluation, and went to the University of Minnesota as a postdoc. Postdocs are hard to come by in the social sciences. I became director of that program the next year, and we ran that for 7 years, an interdisciplinary program with 17 Regents professors got involved, very high status from different disciplines over those years. We placed 45 graduates in evaluation positions, many of which we created. But in 1980, the university selected a new president whose mission was to raise the ranking of the University of Minnesota. Minnesota wanted to compete with Berkeley and Michigan as among the top-tier great public universities. And so he developed what he called a commitment to focus program, which involved giving all the resources to disciplines, because the ratings of universities are based upon the ratings of disciplinary departments. Interdisciplinary programs and applied programs don't count. And he began to get rid of those. And so his commitment to focus for the evaluation program gave us a different F word that we experienced, and that was the end of that piece of the program. But I date the beginning of my experience anyway with the evaluation, those 50 years ago, where it began. I'm going to spotlight a few of the significant developments over those years, so that for those of you who are the old timers, this would be a walk down memory lane, and for those of you who are newer, I hope it gives you a deeper sense of the history of this community of which you're being a part and that we welcome you into. It's what we old folks do. We tell stories, we do memories, and that's what this session's going to be. So let me give you another creation story. This one more recent. In 1984, the Evaluation Network, which was a network of largely educational evaluators, practitioners, and the Evaluation Research Society, which was largely scholars and academics on the East Coast, merged to form the American Evaluation Association. And I was a part of that. We often use the metaphor of dancing between those we work with and evaluators. In this case, a dance of evaluation passion joining ENET and ERS. Fred Astaire and Eleanor Powell, representing our merger. So one of the first conferences after the merger, 1987, AEA in Boston, Bob Covert was the president, and he chose the theme utilization of evaluation. I had the honor of being one of the plenary speakers, with Carol Weiss being the other one. And it was at that conference that I, for the first time, introduced the evaluation hymn to use, which I'm going to now invite you all to sing with me to the tune of Auld Lang Syne. Here we go. All evaluations done be useful as they should. Don't be shy now. They tell us how to separate what is poor from what is good. We gather data near and far to see what we can learn. The findings help us to decide what to keep and what to burn. Second verse. There comes a time for each of us when doubts may give us pause. We wonder what results will show. Will the world see not the flaws? But be assured there's naught to fear if learning is what you seek. Let outcomes guide your every move. Listen to the data speak. So that's how I engage with people. Start out with the Jester mask, do a little creation story, and end up with a little Auld Lang Syne to evaluation use. Now, research on our brains actually says that music is one of the most powerful stimulants for multiple parts of the brain. Simply speaking or talking has a very limited part of the brain, but music generates action and stimulation in multiple parts of the brain, and in fact releases dopamine and other chemicals that can help people feel good. So I'm going to give you a chance to be in touch with that, with a song that's clearly aimed at releasing such chemicals. And again, I'll give you the official version of it, and then we'll do the evaluation version of it. You'll recognize this. I'm based in Minnesota, and in Minnesota, Prince is dominant. Got some Prince fans, good. Then you can sing along with Prince, both the original and the evaluation version, to Purple Rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Keep those chemicals in the brain. And here is our conference version. The power of story, the power of story. Hear that tune? Come on. The power of song, the power of song. The power of story for evaluation. Together when we all sing along. All right, the brain's going. We're ready for the big time stuff here. So one of the transitions that's been important in evaluation is moving from being a front-end activity, back-end activity to a front-end activity. And what I mean by that is 50 years ago, what we thought evaluation was going to be was largely measuring goal attainment. And that we would be figuring out whether or not goals had been met. We went out to begin doing that with programs, and in the early literature, you'll find much gnashing of teeth that didn't go very well, in part because it turned out programs didn't have goals. In fact, they didn't have programs. They had a lot of busy people doing a lot of stuff, but it wasn't coherent and aligned in order to accomplish some collective results. And they seemed perfectly happy with that. You know who needed goals and programs? We did. That's what we thought we were going to be evaluating. And so that involved moving from into doing evaluability assessment work, this big term that basically involved getting people ready for evaluation, which meant, do you have a program aimed at something? And that's how we moved from the back end, finding out what comes out, to the front end, where we got into design and nurturing and helping to build and feed programs, which also then affected the impact of evaluation itself. And one of the paradigm blinders that we had in the early days in use was only looking at the use of findings. But as we moved from back end to front end and began working on measures, indicators, logic models, theories of change, we were having an impact before programs even began and before any data were collected. There's a story that nicely captures that. It took us 20 years to recognize that. It's called process use. Process use is the effect on a program of all the things we do getting ready for and implementing the evaluation, quite apart from the data. My favorite story to illustrate this is a Sufi story that is about the wise fool Jester Nasruddin, who features in many Sufi stories, who was known to be getting wealthy. And every time that he crossed the border guards would completely search him and his donkeys, but they couldn't find the contraband that he was smuggling. And he got wealthier and wealthier. And one day in a bar, a former border guard saw him and he said, "Nasruddin, I'm retired now. Let me buy you dinner and some drinks, and please help an old man sleep. Tell me how you were smuggling." So they had dinner, had drinks, and he turned to Nasruddin. He said, "All right, Nasruddin, tell me, how were you doing it? What were you smuggling?" And Nasruddin said, "Donkeys." And that's what process use was about. We were so focused on findings that we didn't even see process use. We didn't see the impact of infusing evaluation thinking. In this cartoon, our friend the evaluation Jester at the border is being asked, "Do you have anything to declare?" And declares, "Yes, evaluation is a way of thinking." and the donkey says they're only looking for findings. And so this was one of the transitions that has very much affected the ways in which we do our work and the impact on our work. I had the honor of being president of AEA in 1988, which was a presidential election year, George H.W. Bush against Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. We met in New Orleans, and the theme that I picked, because the presidents picked the theme for AEA conferences, was evaluation and politics. We were beginning to make our peace with the fact that evaluation is political. In the early days, there were some questions about that, but it had become very clear. And in those days, we had a tradition, conferences were much smaller, that there was a presidential essay contest. And in preparation for that, we had the plenary speakers that year was Congresswoman Lindy Boggs. In 1988, there were 24 women in Congress out of 535 congressional seats, and she was one of them. And we had her as a plenary speaker both because we wanted to hear from her, but we wanted her to know about us. And we got both of those done. And then Asa Hilliard, impressive, important African-American scholar about the nature of stereotyping and racist images, challenging us to be aware of how those things affected our work. The other thing that my time in office accomplished was that at that time, the AEA application form only allowed you to identify what your disciplinary background was. So you could be an educator, a psychologist, economics, sociology, political science, public administration. And we took the radical step of adding evaluation to the application, that somebody could actually be a primary identity evaluator. And so the essay contest for the theme evaluation and politics asked the question, as we were coming of age about power, what about evaluation or the doing of evaluation is not political? And the winning, succinct, poignant, insightful essay said, evaluation is not political under the following conditions, all of which must be met. No one knows about the program. No one cares about the program. There is no power, money, or influence at stake, and no one involved in the program, engaged in the program in any way, is sexually active. So if you have a program that meets those criteria, you do not have to deal with politics. Otherwise, you do. And one of the political streams across our 50 years has been this issue of speaking truth to power. In 2005, the conference was held in Toronto jointly with the Canadian Evaluation Society. Sharon Rollis, who's here, was the president. I was the program chair. Brad Cousins was the Canadian program chair. The theme was crossing borders and crossing boundaries, but we created the first, and it turned out only, International Speaking Truth to Power Award, and gave it to General Romeo Dallaire, who was the United Nations general in charge of the peacekeeping forces in Rwanda, who spent weeks writing urgent reports describing the deteriorating situation in Rwanda, asking for a few additional resources and authorization to separate the groups that were in conflict, and the world ignored the data. Many of the European leaders, and Bill Clinton, who was president at the time, in his autobiography says his biggest foreign policy mistake was ignoring the reports coming from Rwanda and not doing anything about those. Many of those leaders returned to Rwanda after the genocide, where over 600,000 ethnic conflict deaths occurred in 1994. And we gave the International Speaking Truth to Power Award. General Dallaire was a keynote speaker, very moving and tremendous presentation about the high stakes of using information, of acting on information. And certainly we face that in all of our political situations today. a tremendous report that the evaluation community did reviewing the humanitarian assistance in Rwanda and revealed the ways in which those data were ignored. Leslie Goodyear then, in 2018, followed with the theme Speaking Truth to Power. And we continue as evaluators to be in this global and domestic battle between facts, evidence, truth, data, reality, thinking, post-truth, fake news, alternative facts, make-believe, groupthink, distortions. We're a part of this battle of our times. Sometimes it's not just speaking truth to power, but shouting and hoping to be heard. But what we've learned and came out of the conference was there's the mantra about speaking truth to power, but also empowering, giving voice to the voiceless, those whose truth is not typically heard by the powerful, next year's theme anticipated, and speaking truth to each other. And so we're going to serenade this year's winners of the Myrdal Award, Robin Miller, the Engel Award, Rakesh Mohan, and the Lazarsfeld Award, Hazel Simonet. I want to invite you to serenade them and their accomplishments. They've each been involved throughout their careers in having evaluation findings heard, speaking truth to power, empowering and speaking truth to each other. To a Leonard Cohen song, Dance Me to the End of Love. La, 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 speaking truth to power, what is true in the real world, committed to do justice to perspectives that unfurl. Let us gather data and interpret usefully, lift up what's important, thinking systematically. Call us the evaluators. Second verse. Speak truth based on evidence, scientifically. Speak truth to empower, but do so humbly. Speak truth to each other, sharing, caring openly. Lift truth like an olive branch to build community. Let the data speak their truth. I'm going to take you through the history of our conferences and presidents. La la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la la la. Speak truth based on evidence scientifically. Speak truth to empower, but do so humbly. Speak truth to each other, sharing, caring openly. Live truth like an olive branch to build community. Let the data speak their truth. A rich history, which brings us to the present. When Corey announced this theme and this session was chosen for the Presidential Strand, I contacted her and invited her to identify any song of any genre that was a favorite, and I'd take a shot at writing lyrics for it. She did. And so we're unveiling the world premiere of the evaluation version of this song.
I looked to the children, I drank from the fountains. There's more than one answer to these questions, pointing me in a crooked light. Unless I seek my source for some definitive, closer I am above, yeah. Closer I am above, yeah.
For the charts in 1989, my kids grew up with it. And immediately when Corey sent me that song, I began to have lyrics in my head. The evaluation Jester came forward. But I also realized I don't sing well enough to handle that song. I mean, you already know, I love doing lyrics, I love singing, but I'm not a good singer. And I wanted to do justice to this. I was going to need help, both making sure that the lyrics matched the music, and then in performing it. So I needed to find a singer-songwriter to help me out. And fortunately, I knew one. My son. My son is a singer-songwriter, and he helped me make the lyrics fit the song, and then he recorded the song so that I don't have to sing it. So, Corey, this one's for you.
In this world I'm trying to find my place. Maybe start some conversations face to face. When something comes up and is shared with me, I listen well and I take it seriously. There's power in a story, y'all. Yeah. Evaluation work aims to illuminate, even if some truths are hard to hear. I started out uncertain of the outcome, trusting in the journey, trying to become an evaluator. I took methods courses, I learned all the theory, I read all the classics until my eyes were bleary. There's more than one approach, there are so many, all interconnected lines. But the more I can unleash the power of story, closer it is to find, yeah. Closer it is to find, yeah. I went to get my doctor of philosophy. I studied hermeneutics and phenomenology. I learned all the jargon and paradigm debates. I survived the gauntlet with the rest of my classmates. After 4 years of instruction, I was in the real world. How should I proceed? I went to the village to see the village elder. She smiled and embraced me. I entered a shelter. I asked about the path to understanding. She said it was a crooked line. The more you can unleash the power of story, the closer it is to find, yeah. Closer it is to find, yeah. She said my studies were not yet complete. More places you must visit, more people you must meet. Awaken to their stories, their wisdom and defeats. Immerse yourself in what they have to say, in your search for clarity. I interviewed a doctor and a nurse up in the mountains. I listened to the children, their words flowed like fountains. I heard good intentions and efforts ineffective. I listened to participants with differing perspectives. I found questions to ask about the things that really matter. Stories of experiences, not just idle chatter. Narrative, evaluation, yeah, that's my chosen line. And the more you can unleash the power of story, the closer it is to find their story's not just mine. The closer it is to find, yeah.
Thank you. Brandon, I think they like it. That lets me segue to intergenerational evaluation. One of the things we couldn't imagine 50 years ago is that this would continue. It'd be a worldwide evaluation youth movement, and we'd have tremendous new and emerging promising evaluators with evaluator awards. Emily Gates and Dana Linnell this year, the recipients. And I had the extraordinary experience about 10 years ago that my daughter, Charmaine, Brandon's brother, came to me. She had working on a nonprofit, beginning to do some evaluation for them, and said, "Dad, what would you think of me becoming an evaluator and joining you in utilization-focused evaluation?" And of course, I was thrilled, and she did that, and we've been working together ever since. She completely co-authored with me the new 5th edition of utilization-focused evaluation that came out last year. And I asked Charmaine to read to you the dedication of that book to intergenerational evaluation.
I'll try to do it without crying too, my goodness. It's been such a privilege to get to work with my dad and be welcomed into this community, and now have my brother and my little ones have been to conferences as well, so I'm glad to see future generations here too. So this is the dedication. As a book co-authored by 2 generations of evaluators, we dedicated this book to intergenerational evaluation, a vision of evaluation grounded in the work of the field's founders, while deepened, refreshed, and adapted through young, emergent, and more diverse new generations of evaluators. And in accordance with the vision of ongoing intergenerational evaluation, contributing to a more just and sustainable world, we dedicate this book to our and the world's great, 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 great grandchildren.
So what Charmaine doesn't know is that there's a song that goes with that dedication.
You're not making me sing it.
So the first verse is to second-generation evaluators, of which there now, I'm aware of at least 15 second-generation evaluators. Kids who've decided to become evaluators, having seen what their parents do, and still wanting to become evaluators. And I think that bodes well as the energy of evaluation youth. So the first verse is for the second-generation evaluators. The second verse is for all the intergeneration evaluators. And then on the chorus, I will invite you to join me to From Fiddler on the Roof, Sunrise, Sunset. Is this the little girl I carried? Once evaluating boyfriends, now married. I don't remember getting older. When did she? Intergenerational evaluation. What lessons help to ease the way? We all must learn from one another, day by day at AEA. Here we go, the chorus, everybody. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly flow the days. Deadlines for reports can consume us. Stay focused on what matters through the haze. Sunrise, sunset, sunrise, sunset, swiftly flow the years. New challenges for evaluation, creating new ways forward with our peers. So the new generation has to deal with the future of humanity and all life on Earth. We are in a public crisis of climate emergency, misinformation, inequity and injustice, the pandemic, economic turbulence, and other issues that together constitute a public crisis. The theme of the 2014 conference, Visionary Evaluation for a Sustainable and Equitable Future, equity and sustainability have become the dominant themes of our time as we look forward. Evaluative thinking, a part of that. And Aretha Franklin, I want you to imagine Aretha as Mother Earth telling us how we need to deal with this. Here's Aretha, the goddess of soul, the queen of soul, speak to all of us. See, sometimes the evaluation lyrics are already there. You don't have to change them. So global systems transformation is on the agenda. And in 2015 was Stuart Donaldson's presidency, Exemplary Evaluations in a Multicultural World. It was the year of the International Year of Evaluation. The Sustainable Development Goals were generated in 2015. The International Year of Evaluation declared by the United Nations. And we closed that plenary with the We Are the World and an evaluation version of that. Many of you were there. Here's that moment back in time.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all.
We can't go on pretending day by day
That someone somehow will soon make a change.
We are the world. We are the children. So let's start giving. Let's start giving.
Tremendous, powerful song for the people trying to bring about change and help. We evaluate what they do, so we need our own song. Here it is. There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when evaluation must evolve. The blue marble calls us to do what must be done. The future of our planet must be won. And so younger and older, experienced and novices, we all come together collaboratively in a world of turbulent currents to do systems transformation evaluation, to track those global currents and their implications. Together, we are the world's evaluators. We are the ones who take a global view, evaluating. There's a need we're serving. To you they sit, evaluating complex globally. And here's who we are. the world's evaluators. We are the ones who take a look, evaluating. There's a need we're serving to use a system lens, evaluating complex changes globally. One more time. We are the world's evaluators. We are the ones who take a global view, evaluating. There's a need we're serving to use a systems lens, evaluating complex changes globally. The world's evaluators. We are the world's evaluators. What will we do? We've come through COVID, the pandemic. We're dealing with political polarization and uncertainty. We have the poly crisis deepening. What will we do? Prophets of doom, global warming looms. Innovators plant 1,000 flowers bloom. We got systems change, transformation claims. Fingers pointing everywhere, deflecting the blame. We will evaluate. Let me hear ya. We will evaluate. We will evaluate. We will evaluate. You rock. So stories, as I said, songs, everything for me is an evaluation song. Every story is an evaluation story. And one of my favorite stories as an evaluation story, many of you will have read it, some studied it, may not have appreciated it as a phenomenal evaluation novel, the story of Don Quixote, viewed by some as the first modern novel in Western history, published in 1605 by Cervantes, partly while he was in prison. And it's a story of an elderly gentleman farmer who retires and begins to read for the first time about all the things in the world, the evils in the world, the oppression, the horrible things that have happened to people. And as he reads, the author says, from morning till night, and night till morning, he gives up the melancholy burden of sanity. It's a marvelous phrase. He gives up the melancholy burden of sanity and conceives of becoming a knight errant. Knight errants were people riding through the world doing good things in medieval lore. And so, with his sidekick, Sancho Panza, Don Quixote set forth, and the story is a story about different versions of reality. Don Quixote thinks he's doing battle with a great giant. Others see it as a windmill. And that's where the phrase tilting at windmills comes from in our lexicon. Don Quixote thinks he's battling a great army. Others see it as merely a herd of sheep. Don Quixote thinks he's saving a fair damsel. Others see her as a common prostitute in the film version with Peter O'Toole and Sophia Loren. Great artists have been inspired, Picasso, Dali, and many others, by the Don Quixote story. The great Broadway musical, Man of La Mancha, is based upon the book. And so, in that closing scene in Man of La Mancha, Don Quixote's been brought back into the reality of his village, the village priest, and he's on his deathbed, and they say, as if to comfort him, well, at least you'll die in touch with reality, knowing life as it is. And he responds with one of the great Broadway soliloquies and one of the great evaluation soliloquies. He says, life as it is, reality. I've lived for many years now. I've seen life as it is. Pain, misery, cruelty beyond belief. I've been a soldier and a slave. I've seen my comrades die in battle or fall more slowly under the lash in Africa. These were men who saw life as it is, and they died despairing. No glory, no brave last words, only the look of despair in their eyes, questioning why. I do not believe they were asking why they were dying, but why they had ever lived. Who knows where madness lies? Perhaps to be too practical is madness. To surrender one's dreams, this may be madness. To seek treasure where there's only trash. But maddest of all, is to see life only as it is and not also as it could be and should be. That's what we do. We portray, we capture, we describe life as it is, but not as an end in itself, always in the context of values and vision of life as it should be and could be. It's a noble profession. I've been honored to be a part of it these 50 years, to work with you all, to be able to engage with many different people around the world with evaluation. We're going to close out by celebrating evaluation to the tune of Hallelujah. I'm going to guess not a lot of you have used the words evaluation and hallelujah together. But we're going to do that. It's not too late for you to do that. Again, turning to Leonard Cohen. And to get you in the spirit of that, I want to show you Leonard himself doing this song at the beginning. And then we'll close out with the Evaluation's version of Evaluation Hallelujah. We are all jesters. We are all knights errants.
Secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. But you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah.
Now. Hallelujah. 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 And now the evaluation, hallelujah. It's said there was a secret tower where jesters spoke the truth to power. But we get by with only PowerPoint. No tilting at windmills, that would lack rigor. We report what we learn with systematic vigor. And through real stories we do evaluation. 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 Our work is strong. We value proof. We aim for use. We're not aloof. And we seek justice through the power of story. We gather stories near and far, with findings true we do empower. And from our lips you'll hear evaluation. Evaluation. Hallelujah. Evaluation. Hallelujah. Future stories have unknown endings, maybe doom or new beginnings. We'll be there to evaluate whatever. We wave our flag, the blue marble vision, a symbol of unity, not division. We're here to stay, to do evaluation. Valuation. Hallelujah.